Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Buster Blader Dragonmaid deck profile. So I'm really excited to show you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Jin. And this deck is an extremely awesome deck just with how well the engines in this deck work together. It's super fun to be able to play, and I'm really excited to show you guys my tech cards that I'm playing in this build. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name scripted in a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. And definitely give Jen some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Chamber Dragonmaid. Chamber Dragonmaid is a great normal summon in this deck because she has the ability, if she's normal or special summon, you can add a Dragonmaid spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to add all sorts of different really powerful cards like the fusion spell Dragonmaid Changeover, or even an extremely powerful trap like Dragonmaid Tidying directly from your deck to your hand. It also has the ability at the start of the battle phase, you can return this card to your hand, and if you do, special summon out a level 7 or higher Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard, which is really cool to be able to tag out and go into those extremely powerful dragon forms. We then play 3 copies of Dragonmaid Parlor. Dragonmaid Parlor is a great normal summon as well, because if this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Dragonmaid card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card. And at the start of the battle phase, you can return this card to your hand, and if you do, special summon out a level 8 specifically Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard, which is a really good effect to be able to tag out into those dragon forms, just like your copy of Chamber, so that you can go in for game. This card is really handy with your copy of Tidying and your copy of Changeover, because you can actually bounce this card back to hand when Changeover's in the graveyard to be able to add the Changeover from graveyard to hand, which is an extremely powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Dragonmaid Ernest. Dragonmaid Ernest is a great 3 of in this build because I found myself, as I was playing this deck, opening up too many normal summons. So this card helps out with that a lot, while also being a high level dragon monster to go in for all sorts of really awesome fusion plays like our Dragonmaid fusion monster. But this card has the ability to quick effect discard this card and then special summon out a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monster from your hand. This card comes in very handy, and you guys will definitely see in the test hand just how powerful this deck is. So this card is a very handy card to be able to use to get one of your Dragonmaids out on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Dragonmaid Tenarch. Tenarch is a good hand trap that quick effect. You can discard this card and then target a Dragonmaid monster you control, and it gains 2,000 attack points until the end of this turn, which is a really good effect to be able to boost your Dragonmaids up. We then play a single copy of Parlor's Dragon Form. This card is a really good one of. You only need a single copy of this card, but it's a really good hand trap that you can discard this card and then target one face-up monster on the field, and players cannot activate that target's effects and on the field this turn, which is a pretty good effect to be able to have a negate hand trap. But this card is also really good to summon to the field because it's a 2,700 attack point monster. We're then playing 3 copies of Buster Whelp. Buster Whelp is a great normal summon in this deck because it turns your entire Buster Blader line on, which is really, really nice. Because when this card is normal summoned, you can add a Destruction Sword card from your deck to your hand, which is going to be your copy of Prologue that you're going to be searching off this card so you can go in for all of your insane plays. We're then playing a single copy of Dragon Buster. Dragon Buster is really good because it's when it's equipped to a monster, it can actually lock your opponent out of their entire extra deck, which is extremely powerful and just a really, really good effect. And it's very easy to actually get into the graveyard with some of the other cards we're playing in this deck. We then play a single copy of Buster Blader. Buster Blader is an insanely powerful card, but you only need a single copy of the original form because we're also playing a single copy of the retrained Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master, which you just need a single copy of this version as well. 2 is totally fine in this particular build. I play 1 and 1 because there is sometimes that you do need the Destruction Sword card in the deck, but sometimes you want to just summon out the original Buster Blader, which is always a great thing to do. We then play 2 copies of Aluber. Aluber is really good because we're playing a Despia package in this deck as well, and a branded package, which is just really good because if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a branded spell from your deck to your hand. Since this deck is only going really for fusion plays, besides the Buster Dragon during the opponent's turn, you can go in for all sorts of crazy plays with branded fusion. So this card actually searches the branded fusion that will get you into all sorts of really good plays and some amazing tech boss monsters that we're playing in the extra deck. We then play 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz. Fallen of Albaz is really good because it's basically a super poly on legs, and you have to play it as a 2-of in the deck if you're going to play Branded Fusion. So this card is a very handy card. We then play for the last monster, we're going to be playing a single copy of the Light Hex Seal Fusion. This card lets us go in for a bunch, and I mean a bunch of different boss monsters in the extra deck, like your copies of your Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, your copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and it can even help you go in for your copy of your Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, because it can count as a Buster Blader, which is really cool because it's a fusion substitute monster that can count for one monster that's specifically listed on a card, which is really, really cool. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're not playing that many spells in this deck, so we're going to start out with a single copy of Dragonmaid Changeover. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck. It lets you fusion summon into a dragon fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. You don't have to specifically go for a Dragonmaid monster, so this card opens up a lot of plays in the deck because if you do draw into your copy of the Light Hex Seal Fusion, you can use it with this card, which is really nice to go in for some really powerful boss monsters. It also has the ability, while this card's in your graveyard, you can target a Dragonmaid monster you control and add that card back to your hand. And if you do, return this card back to your hand, which lets you use your Dragonmaid monster's effects again when you normal summon them later or used Earnest to special summon them out, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Branded Opening. Branded Opening is a really, really good 3-of in the deck because this card has the ability that you discard a card and then you take a Despia, which is always a Luber, and then special summon it to your side of the field in defense position or add it to hand, which you're always special summoning it. So you can add from your deck to your hand Branded Fusion, which we play as a 3-of in this deck. Branded Fusion is absolutely insane. It lets you fusion summon into a fusion monster that lists a Fallen of Albaz as a material by using 2 monsters from your hand deck or basically from your hand deck or field, which is just really, really good to be able to use those cards from your hand deck or field to be able to go in for all sorts of crazy powerful boss monsters like your copy of Lubellion or Albion, which then lead into other really powerful cards like your copy of Mirror Jade or a bunch of different tech boss monsters that we have in the extra deck when you go into your copy of Albion. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, since we're playing so many traps in this deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is really important in this deck because it counts as your version 3, 4, or your version of 4, 5, and 6 of your traps in the deck. So it can basically be a wild card in the deck that accounts for any of your normal traps, which is really good that you play at more than 1, which is really, really awesome. We then play 2 copies of Destruction Sword Memories. Destruction Sword Memories is just an insanely powerful card in this deck and one of the most important cards in the entire deck, but you never want to see it in your opening hand. You always want to send it to the graveyard because it has a great graveyard effect that you can banish this card from your graveyard and then fusion summon a Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your graveyard. So you can basically use this card to banish a dragon and a Buster Blader from the graveyard to go into your Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, and conveniently enough, all of your Dragonmaids are actually dragons. Haha. So you can actually use them with this, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Prologue. Prologue of the Destruction Swordsman is absolutely insane in this deck because it has the ability that turns on your entire Buster Blader line, because it has the ability that you get to send a Destruction Sword card and a Buster Blader monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card, and then special summon out a Buster Dragon. Now what you're always going to send off this card's effect is your Destruction Sword Memories and a Buster Blader to set up the graveyard for Destruction Sword Memories. So all you have to have is a dragon in the graveyard at this point to be able to go in for your copy of Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, which is extremely easy to do in this deck because when comboed with your copy of Branded Fusion, is going to completely set up your graveyard, which you guys will definitely see in the test stands what you can do with those two cards in a complete combo, which is just absolutely insane. So definitely be on the lookout for the test hands. This card also has a bonus effect that you can banish it from the graveyard, and your copies of your Destruction Sword cards cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects this turn, which is pretty good. We then play 3 copies of Dragonmaid Tidying. For the last 3 cards in the main deck, it lets you target a dragon monster that you control, any dragon monster, not just dragon maids, that you control, and a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, and return them to the hand. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon out a Dragonmaid monster from your hand or grave in defense position, but return it to the hand during the end phase, which will make their effects go off again, which is really, really cool. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, which is just absolutely crazy to play it in a Dragonmaid deck. Like, that's just really awesome, but kind of weird at the same time, but works. So this card has the ability that takes a Buster Blader plus a Dragon-type monster to summon, and it must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. And this card cannot attack directly, and this monster gains 1,000 attack and defense for each Dragon-type monster that your opponent controls or in their graveyard, which is really awesome because with your Buster Dragon, it turns everything that they have into dragons. It also has the ability to change all dragon type monsters your opponent controls to defense, and also dragon monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects, and if this card attacks a defense position monster, it does piercing damage. So this card is absolutely insane and can pretty much OTK your opponent on its own. We then play just a single copy of Dragonmaid Yugioh. Yugioh is a good 1-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need a second copy, but the extra deck is very, very tight, so I ended up cutting this card down to 1. But during the standby phase, you can special summon out a level 9 or lower Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard, which is really, really powerful, but it does require a level 5 or higher dragon monster plus a Dragonmaid to go into this card. So you have to use a dragon form, which we only play 5 of in the deck, and then you have to use a Dragonmaid, which we only play 6 of in the deck, to go into this card. So it does come up in the deck quite a lot, but you only ever summon like 1 copy per duel. But it has the ability also that when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can negate the activation if you destroy that card. Also, after that, return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, you get to special summon out a House Dragonmaid from your extra deck, and you can only use the effects of this card once per turn. Since we can't special summon it out with that effect, we do play 2 copies of House Dragonmaid in this build that has the ability to take a Dragonmaid plus any dragon, which is why I play 2 of this and just a single copy of Yugioh, but it has the ability that once per turn during the standby phase, you can target one other Dragonmaid monster you control and special summon out a Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position whose level is 1 level higher or 1 level lower than it, and when another face-up dragon monster you control returns to your hand, except during the damage step, you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So basically when they tag into their dragon forms, you can pop a card, which is kind of neat. We then play a single copy of Mirror Jade, because Mirror Jade is just an insanely powerful card and super easy to summon with Branded Fusion. 1 copy of Lubellion, because you're going to use this card to go into your copy of Mirror Jade all the time. 1 copy of Alba Lanitas, the Abyss Dragon. This card is basically Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon for Fallen of Albaz and Dragons. So this card is definitely a 1-of in the deck. Super easy to summon and really awesome card. 2 copies of Albion. Albion is insanely good, and you're always going to use your copy of the Light Hex Seal Fusion to go into this card to be able to go into all sorts of different tech boss monsters, because when you use the Fallen of Albaz and the copy of your Light Hex Seal Fusion, you can banish those cards from the graveyard to fusion summon into a level 8 or lower monster, which is always going to be one of these boss monsters, which is either going to be your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is a walking negate, which is really cool and can go to 4,000, or Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. This card is really, really good in the deck. It's an insanely powerful boss monster, super easy to summon off your copy of Albion, and has the ability that it must either be fusion summoned or special summoned from the extra deck by tributing a Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster, which is never going to happen, and it has the ability to unaffected by all trap effects, and this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each and once per turn. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled, you can target a trap in the grave and set it to your spell and trap card zone, which we play a bunch of traps in this deck. So this card can actually recover those traps, which is really, really good. And it's just super cool to be able to play Blue Eyes, Red Eyes and Dark Magician, and Buster Blader all in the same deck. The only way that you can make this better is fitting in a Blackluster Soldier somewhere in here, and it would be absolutely insane. We then play 2 copies of Buster Dragon because it turns everything into a dragon monster that your opponent controls. And during their turn only, you can target a Buster Blade you control and equip it with a Destruction Sword monster in your graveyard. And it is a quick effect, so you can equip your copy of your Destruction Sword or Buster Dragon, the Destruction Sword, to a Buster Blader you control to lock your opponent out of the extra deck. We then play a single copy of Protector Whelp. Protector Whelp is really good because it's basically a walking Foolish Burial to send your Destruction Sword cards from your deck to the graveyard, which is pretty good. You only need a single copy of it, but it's still a really good one of in this deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Buster Blade or Dragonmaid, you definitely should. And we finally found out who owns the Dragonmaid mansion, and we all knew it. It's Buster Blader, go figure, but I guess that's just a theory, a Yu-Gi-Oh theory. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.